Hi everybody, it is time to go over the Chapter 2 worksheets. We already got through Chapter 1, so now it's time for newer, better things. So Chapter 2, all about parallel lines and the angles that you can find in those lines, as well as triangles and some other geometric figures. So for 2-1, let's go ahead and get started. Number 11, using what you know about angle pairs formed by parallel lines and a transversal, how are angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4 related in the trapezoid? So one thing to remember is that trapezoids are made of parallel lines. So here's one of the lines in the trapezoid, and here is the other one, and these lines are parallel to one another. All right, and since those lines are parallel to one another, we can also say, let me get a different color here so that I can differentiate. We can also say that these lines happen to be transversals. Oh, that's a bad one, hold on. There we go. So now we can see that numbers 1 and 3 are same side interior angles, which we know means that they are supplementary. And the same thing happens for 2 and 4. So we can say angles 1 and 3 are supplementary. And angle 2, that's an angle sign, sorry. And angle 2 and angle 4 are supplementary. Because they are the same side interior angles of the parallel bases. Because they are the same side interior angles of the parallel bases. All right, number 2, what error did Tyler make? So Tyler says the measure of angle 1 is 72 by the same side exterior angles theorem. But the same side exterior angles are not congruent, they're supplementary. So that's what we should write. The same side exterior angles, SSEA, are supplementary not congruent. Whoa, that's weird. Interesting. Why is part of my picture very blurry? Not, put it right here. No? Congruent. Interesting. Weird. Okay. Not congruent. And so the measure of angle 1 should be equal to 180 minus 72, which is 108 degrees. Number 18, which angles are supplementary to number 1, which are congruent to number 1? So the angles which are supplementary are going to be angles 2, angle 3, angle 6, and angle 7. And the ones that are congruent are going to be angle 4, angle 5, and angle 8, because we know that those angles are either going to be same side exterior, same side interior for the supplementaries, or alternate interior and alternate exterior for the congruent. Number 21, a proof. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are parallel we want to prove that the opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. So let's get started with our proof here with our T-chart. We've got our statements, and we've got our reasons. And we can go ahead here and we can start with our given, right? Our given is that ABCD is a parallelogram. Is a parallelogram. Right? And our reason is given. Number 2. So we're trying to get from parallelogram to having angles that are congruent. Well, what do I know about parallelograms, right? All I know is this is a parallelogram. I know the definition of a parallelogram, which is that it's a shape with two pairs of parallel sides. So I could say that AB is parallel to CD, we'll use the parallel symbol, and BC is parallel to AD. And I know those two facts because I know that definition of a parallelogram. The definition of a parallelogram. All right, so once I've established parallel lines, I can start talking about the angles in parallel lines. And the way that I'm going to do this, that I'm going to prove that the opposite angles are congruent, is I am going to use the congruent supplements theorem. So I'm going to say I know that B is supplementary to A. B plus A add to 180 because they're same side interior angles. But B is also supplementary to C over this pair. Whoops. This pair of parallel lines. This pair of parallel lines with that transversal. So B is also supplementary to C. So what I'm going to write is I'm going to write angle A and angle C are supplementary to angle B. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing with a different pair of angles. I'm also going to say that angle B and angle D are both supplementary to angle C because they're both same side interior angles. I'm going to put this in the same step. And I'm going to say angle, whoops, I don't think I need that in red. Angle B and angle D are supplementary to angle C. And the reason for both of these is because we're using same side interior angles. Number 4, then once I know that B is supplementary to both A and C, I can say, hey, since I know B is supplementary to A and also C, I know that A is congruent to C because I know the congruent supplements theorem tells me that if one angle is supplementary to two other angles, then those two other angles must be congruent. And I know the same thing about B and D. I can say angle B is also congruent to angle D. And both of those happen because of the congruent supplements theorem. Congruent supplements theorem. Right? Remember, you can have a proof here that's different, but one thing that you cannot do is you cannot call this angle and this angle alternate interior angles. A and C are not alternate interior angles. B and D are not alternate interior angles because they are not on the same transversal. They're on two different transversals, so we can't compare them like that. Number 23, a glazier is setting supports in parallel segments to prevent glass breakage during storms. What are the values of x and y? Justify your conclusions. So I'm looking at some pairs of parallel lines here, right? I see this parallel line and this parallel line, and I see 50 degrees and its corresponding angle over here. I know that corresponding angles are congruent. Then I look at this parallel line and this parallel line, and I say, hey, angle y and angle x are alternate interior angles. And I know that alternate interior angles are congruent. So I can say they are both 50 degrees. They are both 50 degrees. And I can say y is a corresponding angle of the 50-degree angle we have, and x is an alternate interior angle of y, and that gives us our answer. All right, 24. In the parking lot shown, all of the lines for the parking spaces should be parallel. If the measure of angle 3 is equal to 61, what should measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2 be? Explain. So we can see the parallel lines that are in this diagram. Here is a parallel line, here's a parallel line, here's a parallel line, which tells me that angle 3 and angle 1 happen to be corresponding angles on the same transversal. So angle 1 is going to be 61 because corresponding angles are congruent. Angle 2 is an same side interior angle with angle 1. So we know angle 2 is going to be supplementary to angle 1. So we say, well, what's 180 minus 61? 180 minus 61 is 119 degrees. So let's write this out. We can say that angle 1 is equal to 61 degrees because it's a corresponding angle to angle 3. Because it's a corresponding angle to angle 3. And angle 2 is equal to 119 degrees because it's a same side interior angle to angle 1. And also angle 3, actually, if we consider this line and this line to be our parallel lines and this line to be our transversal, 2 and 3 also happen to be same side interior angles. 25. Margaret is in a boat traveling due west. She turns the boat 50 degrees north of due west for a couple minutes to get around a peninsula. Then she resumed due west again. How many degrees would she turn the wheel to resume a due west course? So let's draw this out so we can see this path. So she's moving due west. That means straight west like this. But then she turns the boat 50 degrees north of west for a couple of minutes to get around a peninsula. So let's put in, this is where the 50 is, right there. That's 50 degrees north of west. And then she resumes a due west course. So then we can say, well, then she's going this way again. So how many degrees would she turn the wheel to resume a due west course? Well, if we turn the wheel 50 degrees this way, here, let me get my pointer. If we turned 50 degrees this way to move upwards to get around that peninsula, then we would have to turn the wheel 50 degrees the other way. Let me draw in some dotted lines to show you, right? I would keep going this way unless I turned the wheel 50 degrees in the other direction to go back west again. So A is going to be 50 degrees. B says name the pair of angles she used. Are the angles congruent or supplementary? Well, if we are going to extend our lines out here, make some dotted lines, we can see that the angles that she used are corresponding angles across parallel lines. So we can say for B, they are corresponding angles, which we know are congruent. So they're corresponding angles, which are congruent. Number 27, classify each angle to congruent or as congruent to number 1 or congruent to number 2. Again, simple diagram. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 1. Angle 5 is congruent to angle 2. Angle 7 is congruent to angle 2. 4 is congruent to angle 2. 6 is congruent to angle 1. And 8 is congruent to angle 1. That same diagram that we've seen already. Number 28, in this diagram, A is parallel to B. What is the measure of angle 1? Again, an easy question. Those are alternate interior angles. That is 62 degrees. 29, students on a scavenger hunt are given the map and shown several clues. The first clue states the following. Skyline Trail forms a transversal. There we go. With Hood Path and Mission Path. Go to the corners that form same side exterior angles north of Skyline Trail. So if here's Skyline Trail, if we're going north of it, we've got same side exterior angles right here and right there. Which two corners does the clue mean? Use the intersections and directions to explain. So we can draw them. But we also say, maybe we should say this is X and this is Y, okay? So for part A, when it says which two corners does the clue mean, we can say for A, they are the intersection got to use some directions here. The intersection, look at, we've got north, south, east, west. So this X is on the northwest corner of Mission Path and Skyline Trail. It's in the northwest corner. So we can say the intersection northwest of Mission Path and Skyline Trail, and the intersection where's the other one? This one is the intersection northeast of Hood Path and Skyline Trail. Northeast of Hood Path and Skyline Trail. And that seems like it might be a lot of writing for what we could just call X and Y, but it asked us to use intersections and directions to explain, and that's something we have to do as adults, so we should get good at that idea. Part B, if the second clue states the following, what trail marker should they go to? Hood and Mission Paths are parallel, and the northeast corner of Hood Path and Skyline Trail forms a 131-degree angle. The angle formed by the southwest corner of Skyline Trail and Mission Path is equal to the trail marker number on River Trail you must go to. So we've got to figure out what is the angle formed by the southwest corner of Skyline Trail and Mission Path. So Skyline Trail, Mission Path, here is the southwest corner. And we say, well, what is this angle measure? This happens to be the alternate exterior angle of the marked one, which is going to be congruent to it. So that's going to be a 131-degree angle. And when it says it's equal to the trail marker number on River Trail you must go to. So for part B, the trail marker number is just marker 131, and that's all. All right, hopefully this helped you out. Let me know if you've got any questions whatsoever. and have a wonderful day.